Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's webinar. I'd like to remind you that this conference is being recorded. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. For those connected by telephone requiring operator assistance during the call, please press *0. Web participants requiring support should use the chat feature on your screen. I would now like to turn the meeting over to your host, Rose LeMay, Director, Northern and Indigenous Health. Please go ahead, Ms. LeMay.
Good morning. Hello and welcome to today's webinar on mental wellness teams for Indigenous communities. This webinar is part of CFHI's recommended learning journey on Indigenous health. As mentioned, I'm Rose LeMay, the Director of Northern Indigenous Health with the Canadian Foundation for Healthcare Improvement. The Northern Indigenous Health team's priorities are around mental health for Indigenous, as well as cultural competence across the whole health and mental health system. We also support organizations on their reconciliation journey. We welcome all of you on the line today. As I introduce our guest speakers, I'd ask that you please take a moment to introduce yourselves on the chat box. Please also let us know how many people are attending from your location in the poll box on the center of your screen. So if you've 1 or 2 or 3, including yourself, please let us know. Our presenters today are Nancy Halferty from the First Nations and Inuit Health Branch of Health Canada, Jan Duer-Katagus from the West Region Treaty 2 and 4 Health Services in Manitoba, just near Dauphin, and Lawrence House from the Mental Wellness Teams in Quebec, just off the James Bay, on the eastern side of James Bay, Quebec. We also have our producers online, Sheena Powell and Kelly Ripley, who operate behind the scenes to ensure these webinars come off without a hitch. And we're thrilled to see so many people joining in today to hear more about mental wellness teams. Just a few housekeeping items to cover before we begin the presentation. Simultaneous interpretation is provided for all CFHI on-call webinars. Please note this may result in a few short pauses in the dialogue today. We invite you to use either official language when entering your questions and comments in the chat box. To ensure that we get the most of our time together, the screen has been split so we can have both the English and French presentations available at the same time. There will be a slight delay advancing the French slides as they are timed with the simultaneous interpretation. If at any time you wish to enlarge either presentation, simply click on the 4 diagonal arrows on the top right of your presentation for full screen. Please note that if you enlarge your presentation to full screen, the chat box will be covered temporarily. You can return to this original screen and the chat box by pressing those 4 diagonal arrows again. In addition to the learning objectives outlined here, we will also learn more about how mental wellness teams help coordinate mental wellness and health services care for Indigenous peoples and their families, and bridge mainstream and cultural approaches in the best interest of the client. Throughout the webinar, just a reminder, you are invited to tap questions and comments in either official languages into the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. Where possible, we will do our best to answer them as we go along. We've also reserved an interactive question and answer period for you to ask any questions you may have of our guest speakers. If we don't get to your questions, we'll try to address them via email after the webinar, and of course you can always follow up with us offline. So let me get to our guest speakers. Our first presenter is Nancy Halferty from Health Canada. Nancy has worked in the area of mental wellness in the First Nations and Inuit Health Branch for the past 7 years. Nancy has been involved with the mental wellness team since she started with FNIB. With a background in program evaluation, she also has a Master's of Social Work from Carleton University. Nancy was born and raised in Ottawa and currently works part-time, spending the rest of her time taking care of her 2-year-old daughter. Nancy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Rose. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present today on the mental wellness teams. I'll just go right into the presentation and we'll get started. So the purpose of the presentation, I'm going to just give a little bit of background about the teams and about the concept, the vision and the goals. speak a little bit about governance, team composition, and the services they provide, and then focus a little bit on lessons learned and evaluation findings and some success stories so far that we've learned from our teams. So the teams have sort of had three streams of funding. We started out with funding in 2007 through the Government of Canada's National Anti-Drug Strategy. And so that was sort of the beginning of the teams, what we would refer to as the pilot teams. And this is when we had 8 teams funded, 3 in Atlantic Canada, 1 in Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia. And then a second stream of funding came in 2013, where we were funding now 4 new teams. So at this point, we had full coverage, national coverage with our teams. And then the latest announcement for funding was most recently in the summer 2016, where $69 million was announced over 3 years to support various measures, and that also included expanding our teams from 11 to 43, focused on communities most at risk. So that the process of those teams being developed and on the ground is currently underway. Regions are working with their partners in that process. So just a little bit of context around our work in the First Nations Inuit Health Branch around mental wellness. The First Nations Mental Wellness Continuum Framework guides all of our work, and the mental wellness teams are not outside of that. So this is a framework that was developed with the branch ourselves, the Assembly of First Nations, and Indigenous mental health leaders from various First Nations non-government organizations. And the framework is a shared vision for First Nations mental wellness, founded on community engagement, partnership, and culture as foundation. So as I said, the teams are very closely aligned with the vision of the framework, and they're an example. We speak about them as an example of what the framework looks like in practice, around things like improving access and linking with existing services, culture and clinical approaches to care, culturally competent care, building capacity are all consistent with the framework. So just moving on to a little bit about the concept of the mental wellness team model. And it is just that, a model where it looks very different in the different communities and different regions where the teams exist. But the basic model is around having a multidisciplinary approach that's client-centered. The teams are community-owned, defined, and driven. They incorporate mental health, culturally safe mental health and addiction services, but also traditional, cultural, and clinical services. They're about providing a continuum of care, services from prevention to aftercare. The teams are very much supportive of principles of community development and support integrated approaches across jurisdictions and across sectors. Again, just some information about the vision of the teams, supporting existing efforts to address mental health and substance abuse by increasing access to mental health and addiction services, filling gaps in the continuum of care, and also contributing to the evidence base, which we will later on in the presentation talk a little bit about what those contributions have been so far. Here is just some of the goals of the mental wellness team. Again, the goals of the model itself. Things like increasing access, increasing community engagement, increasing peer support and clinical support and supervision, working in that team environment, improving treatment outcomes, and increased surveillance. And this is just an illustration of the model with the individual and family at the center and the team providing the community, clinical, and cultural approach to care. We're often asked questions about the governance of the team, so this is just a little bit of information to say that for the most part, teams are usually run by a steering committee made up of health directors or representatives from the participating communities. elders, chief and council. And some examples, for example, the Nunatsiavut team is administered by the Nunatsiavut government. The team in Northern Region is run under the Kwanlin Dun First Nations Justice Department. And all of the teams, the development of the teams is dependent on extensive community engagement. For example, in Ontario, one of the larger teams has served between 9 and 11 communities at different times, but they have a band council resolution from the chief and council for each of the participating First Nations. They actually spent a full year back in when it was one of the pilot teams at the beginning. They spent a full year doing community engagement before actually beginning the service and functioning of the team. So here's just some information about team composition and services. So all of the teams have different team compositions and provide different services, so very much dependent or responding to the community needs. So as I mentioned, they provide culturally appropriate services, but these could be things such as direct clinical service, trauma-informed care, land-based treatment, early intervention and screening, aftercare, and also care coordination with provincial and territorial services. So each team is made up of a number of communities and includes a variety of community-based and clinical professionals. So some of those are listed here, examples: clinical psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, also elders, spiritual advisors, outreach workers, recreational therapists. There was a team that had an occupational therapist at one point. So very varied in the composition of the teams. And also, right now, the teams target between 2 and 10 communities. So there's quite a difference in how many teams, how many communities the different teams target. We'll move on to the next slide. So here are some lessons learned. These are actually lessons learned from the pilot teams, so those teams that were first funded in 2007. And we had a report developed, which were the key lessons learned from those original pilot projects. So this is just a list of some of those lessons learned. I won't go through all of them, but I'll just point out a few. Working with communities that express readiness, involving the team members in the initial planning and community consultations, strategizing around human resources and team building, planning for project evaluation at the earliest stages, and once again, taking a community development approach. So in 2015, we had what we call a cluster evaluation, an evaluation of all of the First Nations Inuit Health Branch mental health and addiction programs. But we were able to do a specific evaluation or specific inquiry into the mental wellness teams. So we were able to get sort of some really interesting and useful findings from that evaluation. And this is just a snapshot of those. So basically what came out of that is that the top 3 impacts of the teams is access to clinical services, that's professional services that are culturally sensitive, improved coordination of services, training and resources, and dedicated team of professionals focused on mental wellness needs of specific communities. So what was interesting is that the evaluators were able to kind of provide a little bit of a comparison of communities without mental wellness teams versus communities served by mental wellness teams. And so you'll see in this table here that communities with mental wellness teams have more capacity and feel supported. The services are becoming more proactive. The teams are seeking out those that are most vulnerable. Communities are having access to specialized services. They're having increased resources and improved coordination of services. So some really promising results coming out of these teams. So moving on to the next and almost last slide is just some success stories from some of the teams the ones that we won't be hearing from later after my presentation. So just a couple of, to go through a couple of examples. For example, all 4 of the teams in Saskatchewan have responded to multiple crisis situations for their catchment areas. For example, in 2015, during the forest fires in Saskatchewan, the mental wellness teams actually served the needs of over 1,500 evacuees. So that was a really great example of how the teams are doing their sort of everyday work, but also being used to help support and respond to crisis situations. In Northern Region, the Jackson Lake Wellness Team has gained a reputation for being a leader in culturally founded land-based healing. The team in Ontario has been able to increase access to specialized services, including providing support to communities to identify and recruit providers. And we have at least 2 teams that have created home visit programs and systems where the team members are actually approaching the most vulnerable, knocking on doors, engaging them in cultural activities, and doing that outreach. And then another point to make is that many of the teams are engaged in regular communication with representatives from provincial and federal governments. And actually, the team in New Brunswick, the province has contributed psychiatric nursing services to the mental wellness team. So they're actually a member of the team. And then the last example here from the Nunatsiavut team is just showing you the network of professionals that team is surrounded by. So everyone from child and youth services to doctors and nurses to the Nunatsiavut Department of Health and Social Development, youth outreach workers, the school board, FASD coordinator, so a really diverse group of organizations working together and supporting that team. And then just on the last slide, there's just a couple of links for additional information. So the first one is the actual First Nations Mental Wellness Continuum Framework, which there's a summary document and then the full document available through the, it says the NAF, they're now called Thunderbird Partnership Foundation website. And then the other document is those key learnings from the 8 pilot projects. So that's the lessons learned that I went through a couple of slides ago. So that full report is actually available online on the Health Canada or the Government Canada website as well. So that's all for my presentation. I'll stop now, and if there's questions, we can go from there.
Thank you, Nancy. Thanks for reminding us about just the levels of success that communities are having. It's so important that we shine a light on the successes that are occurring for First Nations, especially around mental wellness teams. Thank you for that overview. If you don't mind, we're going to go straight into our next presenter because we do want to cover some more material. Before I start, Larry, I really need you to call in on your landline. When you call in, please tell the operator that you're a speaker on a CFHI webinar right now. Thank you, Larry. So now I'm going to move on to our next presenter, which is Jan Dwar-Katagas. Jan is the Mental Wellness Team's coordinator for the West Region Treaty 2 and 4 Health Services in Dolphin, Manitoba. As the coordinator, Jan is responsible for all operational aspects of the Mental Wellness Team's project and works directly with First Nations community teams, the Tribal Advisory Team, the Regional Health Authority, and other partners. Jan has a BA with a major in psychology from the University of Winnipeg, as a proud member of the Lac Seul First Nation in Northwestern Ontario. Go ahead, Jan.
Good morning. I'm coming through clearly, am I?
Yes, you are. That's great, Jan.
Excellent. I just want to thank you for this opportunity to present, and welcome to everybody who's listening today. I'll go right into my presentation as well, or our presentation as well. First, just a little bit about West Region Treaty Health Services. We basically, we recently incorporated, that happened in 2013, formerly West Region Tribal Council Health Department. We're recently incorporated, and we're also accredited in December 2015 by the Canadian Accreditation Council. And that's for the full 3-year period, so we're quite pleased to have that accreditation recognition as well. And this shows where we're located in Manitoba. We're in the west central part of the province. There are 4 communities that are located north of Riding Mountain National Park and 3 communities south. The 4 communities north are Pine Creek, Skownan, Ochichakozipi, and Ebb and Flow. The 3 communities south are Kisikuinen, Rolling River, and Gambler First Nation. And our mental wellness team project is known as Anishinaabe Makina Minoiawan, which we call AMA, and translates to Road to Good Health. And we started in the fall of 2009, and that was through the initial call for proposals. And this is what we've identified as our goals. We, of course, want to increase access to services, including outreach, assessment, treatment, etc. We also want to increase community engagement on mental wellness issues, and we do that through a variety of means, which I will get into later, and also to increase peer support, clinical supports, and supervision. And the purpose of that is we want to help prevent frontline burnout, improve treatment outcomes, increase surveillance to detect mental health challenges and substance use disorders. So that would be through things like mental health first aid, offering mental health first aid both to the community teams but also to the community members as well. And most of all, to make sure that the care providers are trained and supported. That would be the team members plus other frontline workers in the communities. We have an AMA tribal team. The tribal team is like an advisory team. It supports the community teams. Right now it's multidisciplinary. We do have approximately 8 to 10 on the team, and they're from different organizations such as Prairie Mountain Health and other professional organizations in our area. And basically we're there to support the community teams, and right now we have the spiritual advisor. We have program coordinators from West Region Treaty Health. We have some First Nation community workers, Prairie Mountain Health mental health professionals, and there's also a clinical supervisor on our team, on the tribal team as well. And as for the community teams, they were formed in 2010. The team membership includes a team lead, there's an alternate lead, and in most teams there is an elder, a youth representative. The youth representative likely not in as many of the teams as there is an elder, but most of the teams has an elder. A few of the teams have a youth, and we would like to increase that youth representation as well, youth being 18 and over, of course, and other frontline workers that work in the health center. It's not limited to the health center, however, we do encourage other individuals from the community, such as those people working in education or at the band office, etc. And we use a multidisciplinary approach that includes the family. We strive to be community-owned, defined and driven, culturally safe, and definitely we want to enhance collaboration between the community and the external service providers. We do see that happening, actually. We do have some upcoming meetings between ourselves, being the Mental Wellness Team Project, and Prairie Mountain Health, which is the Regional Health Authority, and the communities. So that's a very positive step for us as well. And services from prevention to aftercare, We encourage family community supports and as well as a case management approach. What we do is we assist with immediate response to critical incidents, and assist being the operative word. We will come in, in response to, being asked to come in, and help with in whatever capacity they ask us to help, and participate with other events such as youth gatherings, powwows, community events, powwows, school days, etc. Training provided. We have offered in the past mental health first aid, SASE. Currently, we do have staff in West Region who are trained to offer the training in mental health first aid. So, there is a push now to provide that training to more of the members of the mental wellness teams and to the community members who have not already received that training. And that is the new mental health first aid for First Nation training, as well as brief intervention training, group and individual crisis intervention, for example. As the program coordinator, I am involved with a few of the committees within the community of Dauphin and area. That includes the Parkland Mental Health Promotion Committee, Co-Occurring Disorders Committee, the committee advocating for the removal of sexual exploitation, which is known as CARE. So being part of those committees, I'm able to share information and, progress, successes, challenges, with other organizations that are, relating to mental health within the area. It all helps towards improving service-to-service relationships with those organizations that are involved, such as the Mood Disorders Association of Manitoba, Prairie Mountain Health, the Parkland Mental Health Promotion Committee, the Co-Occurring Disorders Leadership Committee, CARE, and as well as Canadian Mental Health Association. We collaborate with all of the West Region programs and services. We do have the elder involvement and youth representation. Each of the community teams has its own terms of reference. We have community team binders for each of the teams. That's a place for them to keep all of their minutes, etc. And a number of the teams have their own pamphlets and display boards as well. We do have regular tribal and community team meetings on a quarterly basis. There is an AMA wellness gathering. Previously, we have had it 2 times a year. Now we have it once a year, and that is a gathering that brings all of the 7 community teams together for an opportunity to share. Each of the teams gives a report, an update on what what's happening in their community, successes and challenges, etc. And we also like to provide speakers, for their benefit on whatever it is that they've wanted to, us to provide for them. For example, in the past, we've had speakers on the Mental Health Act, as well as FIA, which is the Private Health Information Act, and as well as workshops on everything from depression to wills and estates, etc. We also have had a couple of elders gatherings, which have been very successful and very popular, actually, with the elders from the communities. Up to 50 elders, and we've had them at Elkhorn Resort, which is a resort by Riding Mountain National Park, as well as Camp Wasaga, which is also at Riding Mountain National Park. And we've come through the 2 successful evaluations. One was in 2011, the second in 2012. We also are involved with conference presentations. For example, we presented at the First Nations Health Managers Association conferences previously, and we're scheduled to present at the upcoming conference in Vancouver in November again. So we're looking forward to that. Our wellness gatherings, I'll just kind of go through this slide very quickly since I basically have described it. I described it actually. So this photo is actually from one of our gatherings. The elders gathering, you know, we like to theme. The first gathering was we worked with the vision board. There was a vision workshop, Reclaiming Our Spirit. The second gathering, we kind of continued on that theme on how, you know, we could work towards reclaiming our spirit from the elders' point of view. We do have emphasized the cultural services that are available. There is a spiritual advisor that provides cultural support for the IRS program that is also available to the mental wellness team as well. The spiritual advisor, he teaches and facilitates healing practices. That would be smudging, sweat lodge, traditional medicines. And of course, he is available to the tribal team, community teams, and individuals upon request, and that would be via the established referral process. The spiritual advisor also delivers workshops, opens and closes meetings, and facilitates sharing circles, groups, for example, men's and women's groups. And some of our successes, I believe we have very strong program delivery. We have an effective crisis response. We've been very successful in maintaining our partnerships and connections. Our community membership includes there is the 3 committees that I'm involved with as the coordinator for West Region, and I think we have seen quite a bit of success with promotion about mental health challenges within the communities, promotion, awareness, and surveillance. Hello?
Yes, Jan, we can still hear you.
I have a connection lost on my screen. I'm not able to advance the screen, so I guess I shall just go on with my...
Yes, Jan, please continue. We can see it, so just let us know when you want us to move the screen forward.
Okay. So, next screen, please.
Jan, right now we have you on slide 35 around the AMA summary with challenges.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so, well, the challenges, I mean, we have, you know, people who are involved with the teams. Of course, they have their own busy work schedules. There is participation with other teams. For myself, for example, I'm involved with 3 committees, you know, and members of our tribal team are also involved, you know, with the same and similar teams as well. Travel distance. Within, you know, in Dauphin, it's all right, but some of our communities are 2 hours away, so that may affect frequency attendance. What we would like to do, we would like to increase the youth representation. There is staff turnover in the communities as well, and so the team membership actually changes in some of the communities, not all of the communities. Quite frequently. There is always more that can be done to increase awareness in the communities. Stigma is an issue. That's a whole topic within itself in some communities. And of course, funding is always an issue. Next slide. I think I'm able to do this myself now. I seem to be connected again. Thank you.
Thank you.
We just wanted to highlight briefly the Crisis Service Procedures Manual that we have revised. This was began back in 2002. It was initially produced by Dr. John Elias for the Cree Nation Tribal Health Center. It was revised in January 2003 by the former West Region Treaty Council Health Department for West Region. And then we started a second revision in 2012 with a team of West Region staff. And that began in, the actual meetings started in 2013. The source document was the original manual for West Region that was produced in 2003. It is used with permission, and it is copyrighted by West Region as of February 2015. And the purpose of the manual is, well, we recognize the necessity to have a manual of this type to assist the wellness staff working in the communities to respond to social and emotional crises, and by providing procedures to follow and providing an outline of resources to use. It's not intended to replace or provide a substitute for any other policy procedure such as an emergency response plan, and other policies, procedures, etc. should be used to deal with those events such as a natural disaster or an accident. It's organized into these 12 different sections: background and acknowledgements, purpose, how to use, principles and roles, crisis management, basic theory and methods. The main section of the manual is Section 7, the actual crisis service procedures, step-by-step ways of dealing with different kinds of crisis. And then there's a section on teamwork and communications, confidentiality, record keeping and forms, follow-up, and there is a directory of existing resources for the Dauphin, Manitoba area. Within Section 7, the Crisis Service Procedures section, that further is broken down into different parts. It will begin with, there is, these are the areas that it covers. The first part is basic counseling, then there's a section on risk of suicide, death by suicide, loss and grief, trauma, violence and abuse, neglect, serious illness, and addiction. That includes co-occurring. And the outline for each procedure is there will be a background, basic information. There will be assessment, a list of important questionnaires tools to help get a true picture of the important details, and the immediate goals to be pursued when intervening at the community level. And just to further break this down, in the intervention, there's guidelines on how to help. They're including do's and don'ts. The do's would be practical things. The don'ts include common mistakes, which may do more harm than good. And refer suggestions about resources outside of your immediate work unit, notify who should be notified about the crisis, and how to record the format, the forms, and where the report should be filed. And this crisis manual, we have given it to West Region staff, the tribal team. Community teams have received their copy, health directors, chiefs and councils, the leadership of the communities, as well as the board of directors. And that concludes my portion of this webinar.
Jan, thank you so much. It's Rose here. I think you shared a lot about what sounds like just some amazing success that you've led. Thank you and congratulations for the work that you're doing. I'm just going to leave you with one question, Jan. I'm hoping that you might be able to respond either even by text on chat. I'm sure that people will want to ask whether or not they can access a copy of your manual because it looks amazing.
Okay.
So we're going to move. We're going to move on fairly quickly. We're watching the time. Thank you, Jan. Our final presenter is Larry House. Larry House is a member of Chisasibi. He advocates for the integration of Indigenous culture, Indigenous knowledge within the institutions that serve his community. His work has been to bring into mainstream the knowledge and wisdom that his people hold sacred and apply it to all facets of community and daily life. As in many Indigenous communities worldwide, he has experienced abuses that his peoples have endured during the worst exercises of assimilation in the colonized history of Canada. Larry's resilience is a testament to the healing inherent of Indigenous peoples' worldview and culture. Larry, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, people. I'm just going to follow through with these slides. I had a problem. There was no landline in the room I was in, so I don't have a computer yet. I'm just setting one up right now. Our work in Chisasibi, someone had the foresight in 2009 to create these local committees, these Mi'kmaq committees. And we started the process of engagement then. And we had a series of community meetings. The committee comprised of different people from the various institutions that serve our community. And I was asked to participate as a member of the committee. And so we had, when I looked at the whole situation, I realized I was going to need help. So I engaged some people that would do the writing and the documenting of the whole process. And that's available on our website, chisasibywellness.ca. So I'm going to go into that. I'm going to go into our model, the Community Mental Wellness Team model. Our model rests on the following core principles: cultural safety, continuum of care, whole health, and the social determinants of health. Taken together, the core principles mentioned above are reflected in the Cree concept, Mi'kmaq. There was a study that the Health Board did years back with Naomi Adelson, and they indigenized that term, Mi'kmaq, because it was hard to, speaking this language, it's hard to convey messages to the elders. I asked the question one time, how would you say colonization in Cree? And I got a whole slew of different answers in Cree. And a lot of them had to do with the affecting of the mindset. I said, so this is what we're working with. This is what we're working with. So in speaking this language, I have to be careful in the words that I use. So Mi'kmaq means is to be alive and well. And it's to know that the universe will provide for to live without lack and to be free. And this is how she translated it. And the individual is able to hunt, trap, pursue other land-based activities that he or she has access to good food, game meat, and anything that comes from the land, and warmth, and is able to enjoy life, to participate actively within the community. The model, the Community Mental Wellness Team model, the cultural safety, It's person-centered, client-centered. I don't like the word client. But it's person-centered approach. And it situates overall health within the cultural, historical, economic, and political areas. Empowering the care recipient to actively participate in the decisions regarding his or her health. Building the healthcare provider's cultural competencies that foster respectful bicultural encounter. The continuum of care is to support all individuals across the lifespan. It includes a repertoire of prevention, intervention, and aftercare activities, education, promotion, prevention, and community development, early identification, intervention, crisis response, coordination of care, and aftercare planning, care planning, trauma-informed treatment, support and aftercare. Whole health, the interconnection between mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional behavior. A balance between all of these elements leads to optimal wellness. Culture, therefore, is viewed as an intervention model. We borrow the concept from the First Nations mental wellness continuum framework. The social determinants of health, we can no longer blame the health gap solely on differences in lifestyle habits like diet or smoking. We must also recognize that poor lifestyles are linked to determinants such as poverty, low education, poor living conditions, infrastructures such as lack of access to good jobs or good schools. Integration and collaboration at the local level is key to success and removing the silo effect. The role of the committee in the community, the body was created to be the group that would engage the community, and it's created by bylaw. There's a bylaw that the First Nations governance here passed, and it's to determine and prioritize, I guess, the issues that are affecting our community. And we've had good support from all the collaborators like the Cree Health Board, the Chief and Council. So this is the model that that we work with the Cree Board of Health, the different departments that they have. The mental wellness team is an offshoot of that committee, and other community entities. And our initiative began as a community-based activity. We were doing various small projects in helping us determine or identify key issues that need long-term work, consistency. And we, in the previous page there, when I talk about the continuum of care and cultural safety, since the 90s in our literature review, the elders put together this curriculum that how to care for a child from birth till the age of 13, what a child should know, and how the parents need to prepare. And I sat there and I wondered why this was never implemented. Why was it never applied anywhere? And the only answer that came to me was that governance was always external. So as a community-based process, and in order to implement what the elders want to do actively with the support of the CREAL board and the different supporting agent preschool board, the justice and the band, is to let the elders do what they need to do and have the services plug in. So there's a lot of requests for healing, traditional healing. A lot of workshops and community health services, enhanced services for children and families, mostly on workshops and cultural activities. We collaborated with the grandmothers and we had cultural gathering, all the grandmothers talked, and it went on for 3-4 days, but one morning they did the puberty rites, or they did the winter count, puberty rites, snowshoe walk, first kill ceremony from 4 in the morning, and they were done at 8:30, and they went into a meeting all day. So they were determined to show what was needed. It's not enough to write it down, they were telling us. We need to do these things. And that was well attended. It was done in March, and somehow they knew that that day would be a beautiful day, and it was. Those are the types of services we're talking about in terms of cultural activities. And the SNEETSO services are services for youth that create individual positive cultural identity, create individual self-esteem, and build capacity for youth. It's a land-based healing program. Along with the land-based, we've seen the need for some clinical interventions. So we took the community addictions training with Nietzsche. 8 graduated from that course, and we're using some of them on the land-based healing program. And we have formal collaborations with the health board, certain departments within the health board, that mental health, the SHIU, that public health. We have the ongoing land-based healing program. We've had training with the Thunderbird Partnership Foundation, community consultations. We had a conference recently, and I couldn't think of a name. We just call it the Innovation Conference. This is where we were trying to bring in economic development to look at how we can collaborate better to create a more vibrant, healthy community where purpose and hope is found, like in jobs that are created within the community. We hired approximately 25 local members per year for the various activities. Most of our clients come from the Justice Department. The Crown had a hard time releasing some of the clients or corrections to the land-based, but they managed to, once they seen the curriculum or the syllabus for the program, they agreed to release the clients. So we have ongoing meetings that are going to happen. A lot of our challenges relate to on the willingness of collaboration and engagement with the local and regional clinical service providers. Chief and Council, I'm presenting to the local General Assembly tonight, and we've had sessions with the Cree Health Board. We're going down to meet with the, to collaborate with the Addictions Center, that's Addiction Center file, Gmail. Later this month. So yeah, a lot of it is depends on collaboration. Service integration is a major challenge. We applied for the Health Service Integration Fund in this past month. Given the multitude of protocols and policies of each stakeholder, we have a high staff turnover because we cannot guarantee, the funding is not guaranteed, and people would rather go for more permanent jobs and stuff. Aftercare, core funding is not permanent. We don't know when and if it will be renewed. Data management and evaluation. We've been looking at how to keep the data between the services that each client uses in the community, each member uses, so that everybody has the same information. Justice to NADAP, to the social workers, to schools, so that everybody's on the same page. And the future directions is to continue to build local collaboration, local collaborative partnerships, have another innovation conference. We have keep two more wellness meetings this before March. We have a project submitted to Justice, mental health intervention as crime prevention. We're we're setting up an office right now where we can formalize the intake and referral processes. We're going to start putting our workers out to work. The ones that finish the CAT training, that's more on the ground. And begin more collaboration with the Youth Council and the Women's Association. We're planning right now, we have the land-based going on right now. There's a small group out on the land right now. And we want to do more promotion, intervention, aftercare, community-based, like basically indigenize these services in terms of having the rites of passage, traditional parenting, elders lodge, women's teachings, healing circles, counseling, integration of culture into the interventions. We participated with the residential school support groups here in the community. We collaborated with them on things that they wanted to do. Basically, yeah, doing the providing for speakers to come in, like we invited Edmund Matatuaban, who did Up Ghost River on residential schools, to come in. In my community here, we have 600 survivors, 600 residential school survivors. we have a band resolution to set up a wellness center. We have a letter from all clinicians, doctors, nurses, signing a letter that saying that basically we're in crisis, that something needs to be done. It needs to be done at the local level. So this is what we're working on. We have a request from the Douglas Hospital, mental health hospital in Toronto, to have a direct line to the elders for youth that are having acute cases of psychotic episodes, which are either drug-induced or the elders, I don't know but they do work with that, and usually the young people come out different. So, and we have no problems like working with the Western or having anybody do qualitative assessments or qualitative research with the elders, and that's basically who we're working with. We have a few students right now in. And the last but not least is our page, our website, Mi'kmaq SSB Wellness. All our documents are on there. Anybody's welcome to look at them, use them, whatever. If it help yourself. You can help yourself to all the information on there. I want to talk about what at the grandmothers meeting, the elders were talking about how life was brought into this world. They were prepared. The mother would prepare even before conception. And they were very careful as to what they exposed the mother to, the energies. And she talked about this, and she said when the baby was born, like it was born into this home where people knew how to care for the kid, and the kid knew that it was born into love. I was reading a book, and Dr. Gabor Mate talks about trauma and brain development. And this is what they're referring to, the same thing. So elders know this stuff, and like I have no problems either or. It's just comfortable for our people to have our services more geared to the way we are, like to who we are. And if we can continue to work collaboratively, I'm all for that. So in saying that, we'll end this presentation there.
Thank you, Larry, and thank you for sharing some of the knowledge from the land and the elders from where you come from. It's always such a blessing to hear people speak about their knowledge and really connect it to the land as you did. Thank you. Today we heard from around mental wellness teams around the program overall, from FNIB, from Nancy, thank you, and also some great successes in Manitoba and Quebec. And what really hit me today is really the community development aspects of it. You both talked, Jan and Larry, about what you've done and what you've seen happen through the mental wellness teams in your community, and they were quite different, and that's a good thing. Community development approaches means it's based on your culture, your knowledge, your land, your structures, your leadership, and to address whatever priority that you may need to address. So of course it will look different. But I'm really struck, Larry and Jan, on just the quality and the leadership and the difference that you are leading in your communities, and thank you for that. I'm also struck by how important culture is around life passages, rites of passage, and really how we remind ourselves around Indigenous culture, belonging, purpose, meaning, and hope. Thank you for reminding us of that too. People on the call, you will see that in the decks, you can certainly feel free to contact Larry. His contact information is up. Jan's contact information was up back in the deck. Thank you to both of you. As you noticed, Jan has answered the question of whether or not the procedures manual is available. It's not quite available. Jan, I hope that we can talk in the future when we might be able to share that resource, because that's an amazing resource. Thank you for that. With that, we are going to move to close this webinar. Thank you so much for joining. I want to tell you two things before we continue on. First, please fill in the poll. But second, just want to let you know that for Northern Indigenous Health, our next event will be We Belong. On November 17th and 19th, we're hosting an international forum on life promotion and Indigenous suicide prevention, and I invite you all to join us through social media. This will be one of the first times that we'll try to do this level of discussion, both national and international, both through Twitter and Facebook. So please see, here's the links to Facebook, here's our handle for Twitter. We'll be live streaming much of the event, and we look forward to hearing from you wherever you are across the world to input what is working for you in terms of life promotion activities in your community. We invite you to visit our website and sign up for our CFHI newsletter for a full list of upcoming webinars across CFHI. Again, thank you for filling out the polls. Once again, I also want to thank Nancy, Jan, and Larry for their excellent presentations today, and also to Kelly Sheena here working behind the scenes to make sure this webinar happened. And thank you to you, for everybody who's called in today to learn more about mental wellness teams. This concludes today's webinar. Please have a great day, and we hope to see you soon.
This concludes today's call. Thank you for your participation. You may now disconnect.